So, hi everyone, welcome to the episode of Secrets of the Viz. Today I have Ann to join me on a series of specials that we're doing on the IronViz entries. Ann's entry is very interesting because it touches on a passion of mine, which is video games. So, she did a viz on Stardew Valley and how the different foods affect the villages within the game itself. So, over to you, Ann, to give us a little intro about yourself and how your Tableau journey has been.
Thanks, Liz, for having me on this. This is kind of an honor. My name is Ann Stolzman, and I've been working in Tableau for about 13 years now. I was noodling around with it just to see what was out there as an alternative to Excel and looking for a new job. They asked me at the interview if I knew Tableau, and I'm like, oh, I played with it maybe for a couple hours here or there. And they're like, great, we need an expert. Will you be willing to learn it? I'm like, sure, another tool in the toolbox. So I spent the first 3 weeks paid getting up to speed on Tableau, and I have not looked back. Eventually looking at things on the community, looking at certain blogs, the forums, and trying to get answers for things, I got introduced to this new level of creativity by looking at things like Makeover Monday and Workout Wednesday. To fast forward a little bit, there were a couple of years where I was working for companies that weren't using Tableau, and I kind of let my skills lapse a little bit. Came back into it because I decided I'm going to start doing Workout Wednesdays a little bit more. I need to keep my skills going. But in the middle of all that, I had always watched IronViz for years. I'd never gone to conference in person until this past year. And I said, I'm never going to do IronViz because I'm not that creative. And I was thinking, okay, there's food and drink. That's kind of interesting. Maybe I'll do something on cookies. And I was just talking about it randomly with my husband here and there. And I said, nah, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I'm in the Women in IronViz Slack channel, and they started an IronViz channel. I'm sitting in and watching and I figure I'll give some feedback because I'm good at that. And I'm playing Stardew Valley about a week into IronViz, and I'm giving away an iridium apple. For those who don't know, are the most expensive, the highest quality. And so I'm giving this apple to someone, and I realized, darn it, that is money that I could gain in my gold chest by giving this away. And it's not necessarily going to get me the same amount in friendship, although there are all sorts of buffs and everything that you can get. But it struck me of what is the cost of everybody's friendship in Stardew Valley? There are all sorts of things that you can give, but one of the main things is food. And then my brain just all of a sudden exploded and said, I think I'll do IronViz. I say this in the middle of the living room. We're watching a movie. My husband pauses it and says, I'm sorry, what did you just say? I said, I'm doing IronViz. And I had my laptop because I was working on something else. And I just started pulling open the Stardew Wiki and grabbing every asset that I could. I was grabbing all the recipes. I was grabbing all the villagers because I didn't know where I was going with this yet. And then I went upstairs and started drawing on my whiteboard. And I had this, okay, I'm going to put the big Stardew Valley logo at the top, and I'm going to figure out something in the title. And I'm going to do this scatter plot of X and Y, and I'm not sure what X and Y are going to be, but it's going to be cost across the bottom, and it's going to be something across the top.
I love how that journey from I'm not going to enter IronViz and you playing Stardew Valley for a minute, and it's like, oh, wait, maybe how does that work? Like iridium and like the foods and everything, like one thought leads to another, and just breaking up into like, oh, I'm going to do IronViz this year. I love that whole thought process.
So as I started working, I realized, that's probably not going to work out the way I wanted to. And the reason is the way that a scatter plot wouldn't work for what I was going to show. But, maybe let's go look at all of this information. So I dumped everything into a table where I could look at prices and types of ingredients and crop names and villagers. I loaded all the shape files of all the villagers, trying to figure out where they're going to be. That still didn't work for me so much. So I started working on Post-it notes, and I had the mass of Post-it notes that I had on my desk. There's my initial scatter plot that I was drawing, and then I started writing notes, and these notes came over time. This wasn't all one night. There's some things written on the backs of some of these as well, where I would come up with an idea and I'd write it down while I'm at work. So that got unwieldy for a little bit. And I started having a lot of my imposter syndrome then.
Mm.
Can I really do this? Should I really do this? There's no way I'm going to compete. And for me, it really was about just taking this over the finish line and being happy with it. It isn't about being on that stage because I don't want to be on that stage. I am terrified of that stage. And you're talking to someone who's done presentations for hundreds of folks and talking them through field operations for here's where we're going to put service centers and here's the car park that everything's going to be. So that doesn't unnerve me, but somehow the thought of being on that stage just scares the crap out. But going back to Stardew, I'm working through things. And at one point, my husband asked me again, what was it again you're doing? And I said, well, I'm looking at the likes and all the food that everybody likes and loves to get their friendship up. Because, I'm trying to get Sebastian to marry me. So I'm giving him all these special things, right? You've heard me talk about this, right? And he goes, I know what you should name it. And I'm like, what? And he says, Graft and Bribery in Stardew Valley. I lost it. It was the best. Of course, I didn't use that as my title.
You could have.
I could have. And I'm thinking that might be the name of the next version of this that I plan to do. Because there's so many other things, as you know, from your wife playing it,
Mhm.
of the other things that you can give them. And so I'm thinking, well, once I load all the rest of the stuff in there, let's really make it something that you could use side by side with the game to start pulling those levers of what's it really going to cost you in the pocketbook to give away this thing versus, giving it to a friend. And okay, if you have this buff, how much is it really going to increase that friendship versus the gold that you might want to be able to buy something else that can be more important to you, like that
Well,
upgrade on your house or 17 more cows.
I love the idea of having that as a assistive tool while you're playing the game. So I look forward to seeing that version 2 that you create.
It'll be a while before I create it, but I know someone who has already said that they are going to use it as their companion for their playthrough. So that's really kind of neat to see.
Was it hard to grab all the data from the wiki?
Yes and no. A lot of it I could scrape fairly easily using Gemini or ChatGPT, and then it was just checking everything to make sure that it was all correct, which about 95% of it came through appropriately. There were some things that I just couldn't scrape for some reason or another, so I was hand pulling some things. There were quite a few hours that I spent writing the biographies. If you hover over the villagers, some of that is copy paste from the wiki, some of it is from the developer's blog, some of it is just tweaked a little bit to add about their friendships. It was probably, I'd say, 70% AI and 30% figuring out everything else that I needed to write. And the thing that bugs me, I didn't realize it until about 3 days ago, actually, was I wanted to stylize this tooltip because all my other tooltips match what is going on in the visualization. They have the lovely color Vision tooltip, but you have over here with the recipes, the matching tooltip and color. With the ingredients, you have the matching tooltips. And that one, for some reason, it just slid right past me. So it's the one thing that is really irking me right now.
Yeah, but those are really hard to create because you need to format the entire background sheet and play around with the width and the height just to get everything sized so that Tableau doesn't say that this view is too large for this tooltip.
Oh, absolutely true. I spent quite a bit of time trying to get those to fit just right and figuring out what I needed to do here. Ideally, I wanted it just to be for that ingredient, but I was coming down. I mean, I built this tooltip the night before the deadline, and I already worked on it for a couple of days. I basically said, that's it. I can't do anymore. I need to submit. My idea was I wanted to submit it the night before so that I could actually get a good night's sleep instead of waking up in the middle of the night going, oh, here's an idea, or oh crap, is this really going to work? I decided it's time to put it down. When I submitted it was the next morning after I tweaked a couple other things, but this really was the labor of love. And obviously there was a lot of work that I had to put into expanding some of these game assets, creating enough space, enlarging the background visual to be able to fit the length of my viz.
So the
And
design of it, was it hard because you have a lot of the game assets to it? So you probably had to do a little bit of editing to get it to size within the different blocks that you wanted.
that took a bunch of time. The background image, I had to spend some time in Figma resizing to fit the right length. It kept getting longer, which was the interesting thing. My initial viz was a lot smaller. And then I remembered, oh yeah, I have to make this 12 point. And so that caused everything to be resized. This image I was able to pull pretty cleanly from another asset page that is out there on the web, but I had to do a little bit of tweaking. I definitely had to tweak the parchment here to add a little extra section to it because that wasn't as wide as I needed to be. Then of course the background image. And then the fun came when I thought I was completely done. I said, oh wait, I have to have the conclusion of who's the cheapest friend to acquire. Here we go. I have to retweak my background image again. Thankfully, I didn't have to create another parchment because I already had it. But, that was a fun part, looking through Figma and figuring out where I needed to tweak something, like using paint to create the star. Because orange stars and the green stars that I have up above aren't in the game. I had to take those assets and recolor them. The blue chicken, I was so happy when I found that I just had to have it in there because that is a very mythical thing that does happen very randomly. But I had fun, I decided I'm going to pull in all the fruit trees. And I had done that initially. I had grabbed all the trees and I was going to kind of litter them around. And I don't have the original version where I did that. It was really messy looking. I just wiped it all away. But I decided at the bottom here, I had this empty space. And because I wasn't putting credits at the bottom, I decided I'm just going to put a version of my house and just litter all the trees around it, which anybody who plays Stardew knows you can't crowd trees that closely. I wish I could because that would be exactly what my farm looks like. I would have trees all behind my house because it's fun.
It's amazing. So just looking at the last chart that you have on the Viz, and you're saying earlier on that you wanted your character to marry Sebastian. So Sebastian is probably like the fourth least expensive friendship to acquire. I think you're on track.
I was on track, and you can't marry George and you can't marry Krobus, but you can have him as a roommate. So he's probably the cheapest available to have move into your house for you and try to make a slave by going and farming all your crops.
I love it. I think over the past couple of years, because my Viz, I did a deep dive into how food has evolved over the years. So I looked at a lot of different games, and I'm just amazed at how much evolution the gaming industry has went through. The technology that allows us to simulate life in general, like Stardew Valley is a humongous simulation of farm life and everyday life, which is why it probably gained a lot of popularity, especially during the COVID days, because everyone was stuck at home. We couldn't go anywhere. We only could take solace in living our dream life on the farmhouse in the virtual world.
Sure. I mean, that's when I started playing it. I was late to the Stardew game. And so I started playing it close to the end of the pandemic. My kids were playing Animal Crossing because the new Animal Crossing had just come out for Switch. And so they were into that very heavily. Back in the old days, in the original little Nintendo GameCube, we played Animal Crossing all together. So it was nice seeing that as a throwback that people are still excited about that game, and there is room for cozy gaming sims and real life. And that's got a long history when you think of things like The Sims, going way back, building your house and getting your neighbors and putting your sim through hell by giving them an espresso machine and no bathroom and a bunch of sad clown paintings to try and drive them crazy, or taking the ladder out of the pool after they go for a swim.
I feel like you'll be really good friends with my wife because she plays Sims, and in that particular style as well, she'll make things really difficult for the Sim people that are living in the house. I always ask her when she's playing a game, it's like, why are you doing this to the little people? Just let them live life comfortably. Come on.
Exactly. And yeah, I have an appreciation for a little bit of darkness in my real life gaming occasionally. My youngest daughter picked that up too, and she loves to torture her Sims.
Oh
Um,
man.
we are big Monty Python fans in our house as well, so you can see where that just naturally goes.
Well, I
Um,
mean, all humans have like a good side and our bad side. We kind of need to balance it out. We need to flush it out of our system. And this is the safest place and safest way you can do that without harming anyone in real life.
That is absolutely true. It is a great way to get rid of frustrations or tap into that dark side without damaging anything. I'm not a fan of first person shooters, but every once in a while I like to go pick one up and just start banging on things because it's a great way to get out frustration if I can't go for a run or do something else.
That is true. So I'm not too sure if you're aware, but fun fact, Stardew Valley was created by just one guy. Like he did all
Mhm.
the art, he did all the audio, he did all the coding and everything. And it took him close to, I think, 8 to 10 years to get the game out there. And I'm really happy that it kind of received critical acclaim and everyone is like just buying this game on like multiple different platforms as well, just to support him.
I was aware, and I know that he's working on another labor of love that we've been eagerly waiting for called Haunted Chocolatier. So I
Yes.
am very excited for that to come out.
There's
Um,
another one that is called Witchbrook, which is also on my wife's radar. It's apparently a Stardew Valley in Harry Potter's theme, if you will. So you play as a character within a magical school, and you can do little things like planting herbs and everything, practicing your spells in school, and so yeah, it's probably gonna be really fun. I've seen some footage of it floating around the internet. So that and Chocolatier is probably like the two games that would take all my wife's time when it comes out.
I will have to check out this other game for sure.
Sounds great. So it was really great to chat with you, Anne, on your Viz. This is a testament to how IronViz should be. Like anyone who's thinking about IronViz shouldn't see this as an obstacle because you could just come up with a quirky idea or something that drives you or gives you passion on a topic and just go with it. You're not losing anything, you're learning. And even when you're doing this Viz, you're learning how to web scrape, you're learning how to put things together, you're creating layouts. All of these skills will still stick with you after you submit your submission, and it will be helpful for whatever dashboards they are doing down the road. So I encourage anyone who's thinking about IronViz for the longest time but haven't had the guts and bravery to jump into it, I say just go for it, like Anne has demonstrated so perfectly.
Thank you. The motto of IronViz is win or learn, you can't lose. And it's absolutely true. I had never done dot plots before. I had never done map layers as extensively for non-geographical maps before this. And it was also a drive in creativity. So, like you said, figure out something that you're passionate about or go on a wild hair like I did and create something. And it doesn't even have to be during the IronViz season. It can be with all the community projects that are out there. It doesn't have to 5 hours every night intensively until it gets done. It's a couple hours here or an hour there when you have time. And by the time you're done, you put a lot of time into it, but you learned a lot about yourself. I learned that I really could do this and I really was creative and people really like it. And that's good for me.
Exactly. So thank you, Anne, for hopping on this call with me. I hope everyone gets inspired by you and learn something new. And we'll see everyone at the next episode. Thank you.
Thank you.